Namo Gurudev Namo Om Namo Gurudev Namo Om Namo Gurudev Namo Ad Gurudev Jugat Gurudev Sat Gurudev Sri Gurudev Namaha Ad Gurudev Jugat Gurudev Sat Gurudev Namaha Sri Gurudev Namaha Ad Gurudev Jugat Gurudev Sat Gurudev Namaha. Breathe. Okay, so first of all, I want to know, do you remember about finding out if you're having something difficult or worried during this past week? We're using CNR. Anybody?
Yeah, definitely.
Who is that?
Aagia Pal.
Okay, and what did you find?
Well, I'm noticing a difference really quickly. I'm noticing today it's like, wow, I'm because I've been and talking to everybody, teaching people the CNR, and doing it maybe like 3 times if I can think of it, 4 times a day. And what I'm finding, and where as the eclipse energy is really ramping up, for the solar eclipse in Aquarius on the 17th. And what I'm feeling is talking about what letting go the old stuff and what's my new identity.
Wow.
Because as you know, I've been really considering retiring, and this doctor friend of mine doesn't like the idea. He says, well, um, you're going to have to think about what's your identity and what's your purpose. And I'm like, okay, so what's my fifth dimensional identity? So I went into with CNR with this question. And so what I heard and found is that my purpose is to be kind to others and to bring compassion, peace, um, and love to other people in any way in which I feel called upon. So be awake, be attentive. And so what I did today was I went to the store and got some presents for people for Valentine's Day. And the lady said to me, is this all for one person? I said, no, these are for my friends. And I just want them to know that I appreciate them. And I was just, this is, new. So, and so I attribute it to the meditation, the CNR work, of being deep in my heart center. And then one of my clients, of course, brings me a red garnet bracelet, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So anyway, sorry, I'm going on, but I'm very energized and excited by this. Focusing on the heart center. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Was there anybody else who used that for the week?
With me, this is Japa Saraswati, and I used it when things were really complex, like that I was juggling 3 or 4 different things at once, and it helped me to excel through challenging times, doing really intricate tasks and many of them at the same time. It was just really helpful.
How wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much. Is there anybody else? Okay. Okay. Um, so for our message is very important because we have video again, which is this one is for the Hopi prophecy, and it's called the Fifth World, but actually it makes the same thing as fifth dimension, okay? And these drawings are like, yikey, it's kind of worried. So be careful, okay? And when you see that, no, for the whole time, be sure that you have CNR at the same time. But listen, okay? So that you can understand what's happening, okay? Okay, Japa Saraswati.
Okay. I already texted the message out, but now I'm going to screen share and we can read it together.
Okay.
Okay. Are we ready?
Can you make it bigger or wider?
Mm,
If you can't, we'll do it the way
I
it is.
did it a minute ago.
Oh,
Text size. Here we go.
okay. Okay. So do you still see the, what do you call it?
I think this is good.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Okay. Let's go.
All right. World Dimension from the Hopi Southwest Indians Ancient Prophecy. Tune in. Here's our message. Dear light workers, first understand that your light workers only need to be your meditations and just live your own life as you have seen your feelings from your heart. CNR Consciousness No-Reality, and know that from you are about from the fifth dimension. That is because your energies are radiating you around your own self, such as gardening, going to the grocery, etc. And only listen from the greater sources to do what you are creating, what you can do from that source. Now here we are about the Hopi Southwest Pueblo Indians prophecies. What we have listened for the same name as the fifth dimension, but the Hopis are calling the fifth world. But those drawings on the video could be scary. So I hope that you have been using your CNR when you have feeling fear or really annoyed, concerned, worried, etc. during the video. But immediately use CNR or heart breath. That is how you change your dark energies to light energies. So important to become your own healing for you and then simply radiate from others. But not try that, only be who you are. Also, be sure to see our healer Satni Shan Kar's writing about her experiences as soon as she sends that. She has always been to know Baba Siddhi Chand to listen from her true directions. And what we have found for the predictions for Pam Gregory, astrologist, February 17th, and about Lee Harris, intuitive, from February, I have sent you the email links earlier on Thursday, February 5th, about when your group leaders send to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It should be 15th.
15th?
Yeah.
That hasn't happened yet. February 15th. So you will send it to us on February 15th?
You're right. Mhm.
Okay. I will await.
Thank you.
And then I will send them to all of our constituents. This Hopi prophecy from this video is about the post-winter solstice 2025 shift. That could be February's Hopi prophecy predictions. Oh, and here's the link to the video. So we all have the link in our text message. And we'll watch the video, and then we'll do 1 minute of heart pumping, 5 minutes of CNR. And CNR is strong heart breath, belly breath, nose inhalation for 6 seconds, nose exhalation for 6 seconds from the heart center. Slide from fear, let go from any of your nasty, difficult old stuff. No reality, no thinking, no everyday self, but only feel, just be. Followed by 2 minutes to become awareness and then understanding what happens from everyday self. Use your notes, listen and share. Lots of love. Siri Gian. Any questions?
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay, so now let's do our heart breath for about a minute while I bring up the video, okay?
Okay.
Sure.
Um, are we ready to start the video?
Yes.
Okay.
The gate didn't open with fire or thunder. It closed, quietly. 48 hours ago, the world slipped past the 0 point of 20,025. While cities glittered with Christmas lights and calendars turned without ceremony, something else moved beneath the surface. A subtle pressure in the chest. A strange calm wrapped around unease. Not exhaustion, but the aftershock of a frequency shift. Does the world you inhabited last week already feel distant, as if an old room has been sealed behind you? Listen carefully. Tonight, we decode what truly changed inside you after the solstice. Did you feel it? The solstice has always been
Pardon me?
2025, just a few months ago. Go ahead.
misunderstood as a single night, one precise moment, when the sun pauses, turns, and moves on. But for the Hopi, and for many ancient cultures who watched the sky with reverence rather than instruments, the solstice was never an event. It was a threshold. What we are experiencing now is what can only be described as the aftershock. Among the Hopi, there is an understanding that certain celestial alignments do not release their power all at once. Instead, they leave behind a residue, an energetic echo that continues to move long after the visible moment has passed. This is what we might call the ghost of the solstice. The day itself ends, but its influence begins to seep inward, slowly and deliberately, like water finding its way through stone. This is why the last 48 hours have felt so unusual. You may not be able to name it, but something feels overstimulated. Thoughts arrive uninvited. Sleep comes in fragments. There is a sense that your inner world is receiving more information than it can comfortably process. According to Hopi tradition, this sensation is not random. It is the result of a passage opening. At the crown of the head lies what the Hopi refer to as Kopavi, the sacred opening, the unseen doorway through which human consciousness communicates with the larger order of existence. It is not described as a metaphor, but as a functional point of exchange, a passage between worlds. During periods of intense cosmic transition, Kopavi is believed to act like an antenna. After the solstice, as the Earth subtly shifts its orientation toward the returning light, this antenna becomes hyperactive. Information increases. Sensitivity heightens. The system is flooded not with noise, but with signal. For those attuned to it, the sensation can feel like pressure at the top of the skull, a light dizziness, or an emotional vulnerability that arrives without warning. Modern science unknowingly echoes parts of this ancient understanding. Over the past several days, the Earth's magnetic field has undergone measurable fluctuations, minor by scientific standards, but significant to biological systems that evolved within stable rhythms. The human nervous system, particularly the pineal gland, which is buried deep within the brain, is susceptible to these changes. Often called the body's biological compass, the pineal gland responds not only to light and darkness, but to subtle electromagnetic variations in the environment. When those rhythms shift, perception shifts with them. This does not mean something is wrong. It means something is adjusting. The discomfort many people feel right now, the restlessness, the emotional surfacing, the strange sense of being between identities, is not a symptom of collapse. It is the friction that occurs when an old internal calibration no longer matches the external world. The solstice didn't break the system. It challenged it. And challenges expose thresholds. The Hopi warn that after such gates are crossed, individuals may feel disoriented, not because they are lost, but because familiar reference points no longer function. The compass still works, but north has quietly moved. That is why the world feels subtly unfamiliar, even though nothing appears to have changed. This phase does not demand action. It demands listening. Integration takes time. The ghost of the solstice lingers not to overwhelm, but to teach the body how to exist within a new frequency. Those who resist it experience tension. Those who allow it experience clarity, though often after discomfort. But this is only the beginning, because once the body adjusts, something even stranger begins to happen. Time itself no longer behaves the way it used to, and that is where the first unmistakable sign reveals itself. Something is wrong with the clock, but not the one on your wall. People across different cultures, time zones, and belief systems have been quietly reporting the same sensation. Days feel distorted. A single afternoon stretches endlessly, heavy and slow, while entire weeks vanish without memory. You sit down to work, glance away for a moment, and suddenly hours are gone. Or the opposite, time drags, thick and resistant, as if reality itself is moving through molasses. This is not a distraction, and it is not imagination. According to the Hopi, this sensation marks the first unmistakable sign of transition between worlds. The fourth world, the one humanity is now leaving behind, was governed by external time. Time is measured, divided, sold, and enforced. Clocks ruled over bodies. Calendars dictated worth. Life was synchronized not to nature, but to schedules. The fifth world operates differently. It is not ruled by hours, it is ruled by rhythm. To understand why time feels unstable now, we must first understand the heartbeat of the planet itself. Modern science refers to it as the Schumann resonance, a set of electromagnetic frequencies created by lightning strikes reverberating between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. Often called the pulse of the Earth, this resonance has historically remained relatively stable, oscillating around a familiar baseline. Human biology evolved within that rhythm. Our brainwaves, sleep cycles, hormonal patterns, and sense of temporal flow unconsciously synchronize with this planetary pulse. When the resonance is stable, time feels predictable, linear, manageable. But when the rhythm shifts, even slightly, the human perception of time begins to loosen. In recent years, observers have noted irregular fluctuations in this resonance, spikes, pauses, moments where the rhythm appears to accelerate, then fall silent. While science debates the causes, the Hopi interpretation is far older and far simpler. The planet is changing tempo. And when the drummer changes pace, the dancers feel it first. This is why 24 hours no longer feels like 24 hours. In the fourth world, time was something you moved through. In the fifth world, time is something you move with. Presence replaces measurement. Awareness replaces urgency. Moments expand when they are inhabited fully, and collapse when they are resisted. You may notice this in subtle ways. You forget which day of the week it is, not because you are careless, but because the distinction suddenly feels meaningless. You lose interest in long-term planning, but feel unusually alert in the present moment. Memory behaves strangely. Recent events feel distant, while moments from years ago surface with vivid clarity. The Hopi described the fourth world as the world of straight lines. Progress was linear. Time moved forward relentlessly. The fifth world, by contrast, is circular. Time loops, folds, and responds to attention. It is not bound to machines, it is bound to consciousness. This transition creates friction. Those who cling tightly to schedules, deadlines, and rigid routines often feel anxiety during this phase. The mind attempts to force linear order onto a reality that is no longer cooperating. Meanwhile, those who allow flexibility, who listen rather than command, begin to experience moments of profound stillness, even amid chaos. This is not escapism, it is recalibration. The sensation that time is speeding up is only half the truth. In reality, time is becoming less uniform. It stretches where awareness deepens. It contracts where attention fractures. The old guarantee that each hour would feel roughly the same is dissolving. And this dissolution is not random. It serves a purpose. In a world governed by rhythm rather than clocks, presence becomes power. Decisions made unconsciously carry immediate weight. Moments ignored pass without return. The time slip forces a choice. Remain synchronized with artificial systems, or begin listening to the subtler tempo beneath them. This is why the experience feels personal. Two people can live the same day and experience entirely different lengths of time. One feels overwhelmed and rushed. The other feels strangely spacious. The difference is not circumstance. It is alignment. The Hopi elders warned that during the transition between worlds, humanity would lose its shared sense of time. Some would chase the past. Others would anchor themselves in the present. The division would not be political or geographic, but perceptual. You are not losing time. You are being asked how you wish to inhabit it, and once time slips its old constraints, another change follows naturally, one far more uncomfortable. Because when rhythm replaces measurement, falsehood becomes impossible to tolerate. That discomfort marks the second sign. It rarely announces itself all at once. At first it feels like irritation, subtle, almost petty, a sudden impatience during conversations that once felt normal, a tightening in the stomach when watching the news, a quiet but undeniable urge to withdraw from certain people, places, or routines without being able to fully explain why. This is not moodiness, it is incompatible. As the fifth world frequency begins to stabilize within the body, the internal signal sharpens. And when that happens, anything operating out of sync begins to produce friction, not just emotionally, but physically. What once passed unnoticed now feels abrasive. False enthusiasm, performative kindness, recycled narratives, they no longer glide past awareness, they collide with it. The Hopi spoke of this phase as a time of unmasking. In their tradition, the Kachina are spiritual intermediaries, beings who move between worlds, often appearing in ceremony wearing elaborate masks. But there is a lesser-known teaching that accompanies these rituals. There comes a time when the masks must be removed, when what was hidden behind sacred performance is revealed, not as punishment, but as necessity. This is that moment. When inner frequency rises, the nervous system loses tolerance for distortion. Lies are not merely heard, they are felt. The body reacts before the mind can rationalize, a wave of nausea, a pressure behind the eyes, Sudden anxiety without a clear cause. These are not psychological weaknesses, they are biological feedback. The system is rejecting what no longer resonates. In the fourth world, survival often depended on adaptation to artificial structures. People learned to smile when they disagreed, to stay silent when something felt wrong, to accept narratives that contradicted lived experience. That world rewarded conformity. But the fifth world does not negotiate with falsehood, it exposes it. And exposure is uncomfortable. This is why relationships are fracturing. Not only romantic ones, but friendships, family dynamics, and professional alliances. You may find yourself unable to maintain conversations that revolve around status, fear, or superficial outrage. Small talk begins to feel exhausting. Performative outrage feels hollow. Even long-held belief systems can suddenly feel thin. It is not that others have changed overnight. It is that you can no longer look away. The Hopi warned that during the passage between worlds, the greatest shock would not come from the sky, but from within the home. Truth would surface in familiar spaces, workplaces, communities, families. The unmasking would not be dramatic, it would be relentless. What collapses during this phase is not structure, but pretense. For many, this creates fear. The fourth world trained humanity to equate stability with sameness. When the old agreements dissolve, the nervous system interprets it as danger. This is why some people double down on denial, distraction, or aggression. The frequency gap feels intolerable, but there is another response. Some begin to experience a strange relief. A quiet honesty emerges. Conversations become shorter but more meaningful. Solitude feels nourishing rather than lonely. There is less tolerance for noise, but more capacity for depth. This is not isolation. It is clarification. The allergy to falsehood does not mean moral superiority. It does not mean you are more awake than others. It simply means your system can no longer digest what lacks authenticity. Just as the body rejects spoiled food, consciousness rejects distorted information. The Hopi elders taught that this phase was necessary because the fifth world cannot be built on borrowed identities. Masks may serve a purpose during transition, but they cannot survive arrival, and this unmasking is not limited to others. You may begin to notice it in yourself. Old habits that once felt harmless now feel heavy. Words spoken out of obligation leave a residue. You may catch yourself before agreeing to things that once felt automatic. This self-recognition can be unsettling, but it is also liberating, because what is being removed was never truly aligned. The fifth world does not demand perfection, it demands coherence, and coherence leaves no room for sustained deception, internal or external. What remains after the unmasking may feel smaller at first. Fewer connections, fewer distractions, fewer identities to hide behind. But what remains is real. And once the noise falls away, another capacity emerges, one far more powerful and far more dangerous. Because in a world without distortion, intention no longer lingers in delay. It manifests. That is the third sign. In the fourth world, there was always a delay. You could hold an intention for years before seeing results, if they came at all. Desire moved slowly through dense systems, bureaucracy, social structures, time-bound effort. Cause and effect were separated by distance, explanation, and often disappointment. This delay acted as a buffer. It softened the consequences. It allowed unconscious thoughts to dissolve before becoming real. The fifth world removes that buffer. What many are beginning to notice, sometimes with awe, sometimes with fear, is that the space between intention and outcome is shrinking. Thoughts don't linger in abstraction. Emotional states don't dissipate harmlessly. They move outward, quickly, shaping circumstances with an efficiency that feels almost unnatural. This is not imagination. It is responsiveness. The Hopi never spoke of manifestation as a technique. There were no rituals for attracting outcomes. Instead, they warned that during the transition into the fifth world, humans would rediscover a power they had forgotten, not because it was mystical, but because it was dangerous when mishandled. They understood consciousness as a shaping force. Modern physics brushes against this idea through what is known as the observer effect, the principle that observation itself alters the behavior of particles. At the smallest measurable scales, reality does not fully exist until it is perceived. Possibility collapses into form through attention. In the fourth world, this effect was muted by density. Systems were slow. Structures absorbed intention before it could take shape. But as the fifth world frequency takes hold, density decreases. Responsiveness increases. Reality becomes less resistant to influence. This is why manifestation now feels immediate. A casual fear spirals into conflict within days. A clear decision triggers unexpected opportunities almost instantly. Emotional patterns that once took years to resolve now force confrontation within weeks or hours. This speed is not a reward, it is a responsibility. The Hopi warned that the fifth world would not tolerate unconscious creation. What you hold internally, especially what you repeat, no longer remains private. It imprints, it echoes, and it returns amplified. This is why some people feel overwhelmed. The mind, trained in the fourth world, was allowed to wander. Fear-based scenarios played on repeat without consequence. Self-criticism became background noise. In the fifth world, those patterns behave differently. They do not stay internal, they externalize. This creates the illusion that the world is becoming harsher, more reactive, less forgiving. But the truth is subtler. Reality is becoming more honest. It reflects without delay. Those who remain unaware of this shift experience it as chaos. Life begins to feel unstable, unpredictable, even hostile. But those who recognize the pattern understand that what has changed is not the world's temperament, it is its response time. Be careful what you wish for is no longer a cliché, it is a survival principle. The Hopi taught that, in the fifth world, thought must be treated as action, intention as architecture, emotional states as blueprints. This does not mean suppressing fear or forcing positivity. It means taking responsibility for internal alignment. Because manifestation now follows coherence, not desire. Intentions rooted in clarity, presence, and grounded awareness tend to unfold smoothly. Those rooted in fear, scarcity, or unconscious reaction unfold just as efficiently, but with consequences that arrive faster than expected. This is why many people feel called to slow down, not because time demands it, but because awareness does. There's less margin for impulsive thinking. Less forgiveness for self-deception. The fifth world does not punish mistakes. It simply mirrors them immediately. And mirrors are uncomfortable. Yet within this danger lies a profound opportunity. For the first time in generations, human beings are being asked to participate consciously in creation, not as controllers but as stewards, to notice the quality of their thoughts, to feel emotions without letting them harden into identity, to choose intention carefully, not because of moral obligation, but because of consequence. The Hopi never described this era as utopian. They described it as revealing. Those who cultivate inner stillness find that manifestation becomes precise, clean, less dramatic. Life organizes itself around what is truly needed, not what is loudly wanted. Those who chase power or control find that reality reflects instability at them with equal force. This is the dividing line. The fifth world does not belong to the strongest or the loudest. It belongs to the most coherent. To those who understand that attention is currency and intention is infrastructure. If you feel reality responding faster than before, you are not losing control. You are being given it. And with that gift comes a final realization, one that brings both comfort and challenge. Because the fifth world is not a destination waiting in the future, it is already here. And that understanding brings us to the conclusion. The fifth world is not a distant land waiting beyond catastrophe or salvation. It is not something humanity will arrive at one day in the future. According to the Hopi, it emerges quietly, through perception, not geography. And it begins the moment you realize the world you once understood no longer responds the same way. If you feel disoriented, fatigued, or strangely exposed, you are not failing this transition. You are inside it. The loss of old certainties is not punishment, it is preparation. Structures are loosening so awareness can take their place. What feels like chaos on the surface is, beneath it, a deep reordering. The Hopi elders left us a reminder for this moment. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Not leaders, not systems, not saviors. The responsibility was always internal. The noise outside will continue. But a new stillness is taking root within those willing to listen. Trust the intuition sharpening inside you. Trust the discomfort. It is teaching discernment. And trust that this unfamiliar rhythm is not exile. It is home. If you've recognized these signs in your own life, share your experience below. Let others know they are not alone. And if you feel called to continue exploring these hidden transitions, subscribe, because this story is far from over. Peace be with you. Peace.
Okay. So now it's time for, what is it? Jumping, heart jumping, breath. Okay. You ready? And begin. And now begin 5 minutes CNR. inhale. Exhale. Breathe. And now, just breathe and remember what you heard about 2 minutes. And inhale. Exhale. And breathe. Aagia Pal.
Can I say something really quickly?
Sure.
I think I want to use visual aids on when I share, and I want to remind everybody else that if you want to show a picture or something like that from the internet or from your phone, we can all do screen sharing on this, okay? That it's
Okay.
an option for anybody.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Aagia Pal.
Yes, ma'am. All of the above. What was said was so relevant to my experience. As you know, I have been reporting such increased anxiety lately, sadness, letting go, needing to release, knowing that, and waking up this morning saying, I don't want to play anymore. And asking myself, what does that mean? I don't want to play anymore. And I think that's what this is about, the shift. And, subconsciously in my sleep, it's happening as well, that I'm feeling the shift. The artwork in this, the video, I, I I saw that it was very stark. It was very dry, barren. It was just the, just artifacts and peoples and one person uh, and but anyway, so that struck me as sometimes my inner world, my third, fourth dimensional inner world has grown to be stark and barren. And so bottom line is, yup, I'm feeling the shift, and the with CNR, as I reported, it's the way to go. It's kind of my saving grace, and they giving me coherence. They talked about that in this in the video about being totally in integrity, and or that's how I interpret it. Integrity and transparency, um and with the walking the talk, and just um um not being an inaction shamer at all, but telling myself, I really want to, even though I'm not a leader in authority, I do am a leader for myself and authority for myself. So I very much need to um, go into a space of more action that's focused on love and compassion and caring, um, and get out of myself more, because I realize, listening to this and with CNR, that my goodness, the focus, as we know, is our superpower, and my focus has been on me a lot. What am I going to do? Where am I going to? And what I got from this is that um, I shall make an intention. I shall carry an intention that focuses on all of us as part of each other, as one with each other. And so, um, so, well, I have to sit with this whole thing about time not being linear and wrapping around and so on and so forth. I definitely need to sit with that, but, you know, some, I've some experiences with that, but anyway, so, working on setting my intention, and realizing, as we kind of jokingly say, be careful what you ask for. Yes, be very careful what I ask for, and what I envision and want to attract, energetically. Um, yeah, and then the focus on coherence and all of this, I think, is really expedited, or I don't want to say caused by, but CNR is definitely a huge tool, or a huge experiential, maybe, in all of this, to continue. And, and then for me, and it's just to lighten up, just to be, you know, okay and joyous, and awake to, um, awake to where I'm needed. And, someone the other day asked me, we were talking, and she's like, oh, my phone, Zoom isn't working. And I can't listen. She's a Siddha yogi. So she listens to the Sri Guru Gita every day. She said, oh, I couldn't listen to it because my Zoom wasn't working, blah. So anyway, I said, okay, well, let me see what I could do. And so she gave me her phone, and I just deleted the app and reloaded it, and it worked. And she's like, oh, thank you. And it's affected me a lot, oh, I can listen to the Sri Guru Gita every morning now. And I thought to myself, oh my God, what I did, a very simple thing, helped her to make sure she connects with her higher power, and, you know, it was kind of a holy thing, a sacred act, which I didn't realize at the beginning, but the outcome was, and I said, oh man, I want to do more of this, whatever it is. I'll do more. And the irony of the whole thing is I used to be a professor of computer science and have become almost a Luddite now. I mean, it's just like with all this AI and, anyway, using technology, I'm rather upset about, because my research is in AI, but now they're using, it's not what I had envisioned. Anyway, but to get back to what I was saying before I got distracted, I just want to continue intention that's going to manifest positively for people. However trusting the creator, trusting us as co-creators, trusting ourselves, and that the divinity is working through us. And then the last thing, which is kind of curious to me, is what came up was, what about the seventh dimension? And I said to myself, oh boy, no, I'm just going to leave that for now. And we'll, just kind of see, what about the sixth and the seventh dimension? And are they possible? Can we experience them? And then I just said to myself, okay, just cool down, calm down, and just, be even. We got to be more even. Okay, so I think I've taken up plenty of too much time anyway. Thank you for listening.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Gian Das Prem.
Satnam.
Oh, wait a minute. I want to say something. You were talking about your own self or something like that over and over again. But I felt that was your sovereignty. Do you understand that? Aagia Pal?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking to me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What about my sovereignty?
Yeah. I thought that was what you were actually talking about.
Oh, wow.
That you have your authority from your own self is sovereignty.
Well, thank you for pointing that out. I wasn't aware of that.
Yes. That word is often used with the Aquarian sovereign. Sovereign.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Gian Das Prem.
Satnam.
Satam.
So we've been listening a lot and reading a lot the last week too, and now paying attention to this and the Hopi. Wow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from my memory and from my beliefs and now my feelings and being drawn to that place and now having an invitation to go there to experience. Probably, or very well could be, one of these civilizations that's managed to stay its place for a long time in that area. So we're noticing, the energy from the land there and everything else. But what came through for me is, other than the going back to the chanting, and doing some chanting and dancing around the fire, which has been a reminder and something that I've been doing throughout my life is just a fun thing. cleaning up in the fall or whatnot. So the message is the rising, in the rising, rise above the disguise. We are being, and within that being, where we can sort of hypnotize ourselves, we can become wise to the hypnotize. We realizing this hypnotization, this way that we're moving through. We're sort of freezing the breeze, right? If you want to talk about time or something, where you're able to just see how the consciousness of this movement is happening with the vibration and the currents and that I love how you bring the frequency into the currency, right? Isn't that a beautiful thing? And we're mentioning the center of our brain. So we have that part. We have a couple of good parts in there, right? To our pineal gland and our thymus, and then we go in there. I have the picture. I've been having that picture out so I can look at the parts of my brain. So there is those waves, and the visual I was given was when it rains and the rain hits the ground, and you can see when it hits a hot ground, and you can see it rising up, and it makes these patterns and whatnot. And lightning was mentioned there too. It's just a beautiful thing when you can see what it does on its own, right? That way that it moves. And it's, for me, just this visual experience, I think sometimes of like, yes, the letting go, or the balances that we're noticing in that shift of some of the practices through the practices too. So we're coming back to that practice again of our breath, of coming into that when we're faced with the challenge, right, of this information, of these changes through the vibration, and noticing. It's like I'm going back to the kaleidoscope, and now I'm looking at the sky, and I'm sort of seeing these mirrors, and they're sort of moving around. Even if it's in the blinking of my eyes, we can do things, right? The brain is just such an amazing thing. And it just picks up on so much more than we may be able to handle. So we're shifting into this way of doing. And this morning for me, I noticed it was my third eye. Like, I noticed that I've been looking up top a lot. So sometimes you need to go into these eye exercises or face exercises. And this morning I may have not warmed up as much as I should have. And I went into cat cow, and I could just notice that a feeling at the top of my head. And I had to ease into it to say, wow, that's interesting. I haven't felt that for a while. So just to ease into that, sometimes when we feel a discomfort, we can return back to our breath, right? And come into that center where our gimbal is, our way of balance. And it's really cool to see some of the visuals, like, and what I saw today was a bubble. The bubble entry is penned, PE, like a penned. It's been penned and noticed and written down, to open up to the eye of the happy, for whether it's the eye of life or through the third eye, this natural thing that's happening for us to sense with the senses, and then calling out to the four directions, and from the within, and sending and receiving. And we can announce our name to our elders, to those who have gone beyond, and have come to their ultimate peace. And we can go there and return in a safe manner, where we're just doing it within our own dance, to see it in the for me, the visual was laying down in the grass and at nighttime, and I know the grass is moving because I can feel it, and but I can't really see it. And then when I look up to the stars, I just see these other, and it allows my breath to come into this way of being with that earth frequency, to breathe that into the heart breath and the earth breath, and just bring the two of those energies in, and sort of the Waheguru, right? My visual was, and I saw it on YouTube the other day, was the man explaining Waheguru, and he was like this fuzzy little doll, and he was riding on a train, and he explained that it almost looked like arteries and veins or electrical a circuit board or something like that. And there's so much art and mandala in there and all of these things that we can go to notice, the shapes and the geometric patterns, that we can look at and see. For me today, it was green and yellow, and it was just sort of moving around in sparks and flares, changing. And it's what we see, kind of, we have these memories in our head too that we can have, and some of them that we're accessing, right? So we're expanding our DNA through the light and coming into that, back into that way of seeing or being. Yeah. And are we being? Yeah. So chants to the elders and the heartbeat of the drum. Aho. Thank you so much, Baba Siri John. Waheguru.
Thank you, dear. Thank you very much. Okay, Sat City.
Satnam, can you all hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay. I'm kind of blown away. So I'm trying to move back into thought world and coherence world. So a couple of things have been happening, but my first thing I guess I would start with, it's so immediate, is just the overwhelming power of soul, the infinite, awesome power of soul in my life, in the life really of all of us. And I'll never forget something that Yogi Bhajan said at women's camp. It's parallel. A lot of the girls were worried or anxious to get married and hoping to meet the right person. And, is this guy right? Or they're dating some idiot. And he's trying to point out, this is not a good husband material. But anyway, it was always really loving and kind. And what Yogi Bhajan said, that is kind of a kernel of what I've been experiencing today, which was, listen, ladies, it's the infinite power of soul. If you're supposed to be married to someone, soul is going to make it, it's going to happen. And that person could be living, in Tierra del Fuego, and you could be in Canada, and you are going to get together. You will find each other. That is the power of soul, transcending time and space. So for me, I've been crying and crying and crying all week, just profound grief about, for me, I was a kid from the Bronx. How the heck did I end up at the age of 17, 18 in Minnesota, in St. Paul, going to a wonderful, wonderful college, and ending up becoming very, very involved in the Native American community? There's a really big Native center. There's 3 different tribes that are in the Twin Cities. Minnesota is the state of incredible presence of Native Americans. 2 different tribes, really. Lakota, from the Plains Indians, were really tough, powerful people. And then the Ojibwe, much softer kind of forest people. No, not like that burning heat. And the Sundance is from the Lakota, and then the Ojibwe. Just such different soulful tribes. And I ended up working a lot with them and being at the Science Museum and building exhibits and having, I think I told you guys my first job was at the Science Museum in Minnesota, and they said, just open. My boss, who was such a wonderful boss, she said, there's a closet, go open it. Tell me if I'm repeating myself. And everything in there were all these artifacts that had been collected. Beautiful Native American stuff. You wouldn't even believe. Beautiful, beautiful ceremonial stuff, everything. And I had to go and pull them out and then find somebody in the Native American community could tell me what this was and how it was used. But anyway, how I'm just awed by the power of soul I'm grieving because the Twin Cities, Minneapolis in particular, I got a lot of spiritual awakening, which eventually led me to meet Siri Gian, which eventually got me to be a Kundalini Yogini, which is the anchor of everything in my life, including involvement with Native American communities, et cetera, et cetera. But the most important thing is, so Minneapolis is like considered the chakra, the throat chakra of the Americas by the Native Americans, and that a lot of their leaders, the most important leaders for AIM, American Indian Movement, which was pretty involved in the fight, the struggle after being basic major genocides of all different tribes across America, North America, etc. So what am I trying to say here is there's a big awakening going on, and Minneapolis is courageous people fighting to the death, really. The ice guy came, and the man, the nurse,
Yeah.
I listened to it on tape. Him being shot in the back and whimpering into his own death. So, what am I trying to say here? It's soul is. So, I'm just in awe of the power of soul as it operates in such beautifully unique and diverse ways. I'm much more familiar with the native communities and the ceremonies and all that, and then soul found me. I forget exactly how I connected with Siri, but it was like total coincidence. Oh, a student of mine said, "You gotta meet this in Pittsburgh. You gotta meet this lady, Siri Gian. She's like a goddess." Do you remember Joel?
Oh,
Who was
yeah.
my student? Yeah. So anyway, the grief is so. I'm trying to stay in the soulfulness of grief. Cry, cry, cry as long as I need to. Support in any way that I can. Basically, Trump is, or our, I don't want to get specific. Basically, our government is trying to destroy Minneapolis because the people are being killed and beaten, and, um, and the city's going bankrupt. So it's a very brutal situation there, and going to try to tie back to this Native American presence that's very much alive in the Dharma, because when we go for winter solstice, you're in Hopi land. You're in an incredible Native community, and I ended up spending a lot of time in some of those reservations when every year going there. So I guess I feel pretty incoherent. I'm just struck. I'm awed by the global, I should say, universal power of soul. And I trust and have faith and actually believe through lived experience that, like the example of if God, if our creator, if Guru wants two young people, a male, a female, or older couple, whatever, to connect, it's going to happen. And I've seen it. And I have had many of those kind of miracles in my own life. And I feel like being in this group is part of one of those soulful miracles. And I'm curious if anybody has any ideas about the role, this experience of just profound, almost incapacitating grief, as maybe perhaps opening the door to the joy of what Earth could be, what Earth, all the potential that's kind of coming to the surface, and the inspiration of really brave, dedicated people in Minneapolis. Unbelievable example of us taking on the challenges to bring soul into civic life, into the economies. People are getting fed. There's, no most of the workers can't go back to work. I got a guy that I'm friends with here who I worked with on a crew, Orlando. He hasn't left his house. He's so desperately afraid. So they're really struggling in Minneapolis. And it's a very heroic fight. And it's very deep. Just want to share that it is such a deep area for Native resistance that, the Native American Indian movement, AIM, and a very inspiring return or resurfacing of what's at core in the land of North America. and really a deep, deep, important part of us. It's always accessible as Americans. So I hope I'm making sense. And I'm so happy to be here and very inspired. And I pass.
Thank you so much. Sun City, I was, a few weeks ago, I felt like Minneapolis was going to be the new capital for America.
Amen.
That was good.
It-
Okay.
It's unfolding,
Harimandir,
isn't it?
what'd
It's
you say?
unfolding. It is. That is actually unfolding as a political reality.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Harimandir.
Well, yes, my goodness. Like Aagia Pal said, everything in this morning resonated. And it's already been happening. And so what I wanted to say first about the video, I knew immediately that I couldn't watch the video. That I needed something else to watch. I didn't need anything to watch, and I didn't, but I also then searched for something that was more appropriate than whatever the stick figures were that had no resonance at all to me. And they were distracting just in the first 3 seconds or so to what was actually being said. So I have no idea. Let me rephrase that. I have not yet learned how to screen share, but I did put on the larger our where we get all our notices of the larger chat, not the one in the Zoom. And what I put on it, if you go look, is lights from around a huge statue of a whale, which you cannot see. But everyone came out in a snowstorm, and was our Juno resistance to what was happening in Minneapolis. And so that's the picture that's on the larger chat.
Thank you.
Satsiri, I'm surprised at what you were saying, because one of my goddaughters is Ojibwe, and I taught Kundalini yoga in the Catholic Church in Red Lake a number of years ago, and sent my goddaughter this morning $120 so that she could buy a pair of black pants and black shoes for her first real job.
Ooh.
I mean, she's mid 50s, and has been um, on drugs and alcohol and stuff.
Mhm.
Whole time not the whole time, because I connected with her when she was still through the Save the Children's Fund, I think, way back. But she has spent a couple of decades, or 4 decades with substance abuse. But um, and it's nice to have that differentiation, the Lakota Plains, the Sundance,
Mm.
the horrible for me, imagining cutting a strip in your chest and going against, I mean, the self-torture. And
Mhm.
it was lovely to see for you to describe the Ojibwe as forest people, because
They
even
are.
um, growing up back east, the woodland Indians were
Mhm.
always a draw to me, in the New England, Virginia, that whole corridor. And my mom was born in Minneapolis, which surprised me a number of years ago when I realized that, because she was supposed to be, she and my dad were both Californians. And I was in doing theater at the time. That's what's my degree at the end. And astounded that the place other than New York for um, national theater was Minneapolis.
Yeah.
So that was a revelation at the time. um, I've had a bad shoulder for the last several months that got so worse that I needed to deal with it. But that was losing strength. But what I found was um, it, and I had a bad fall where it squashed 3 vertebrae. So I have a little bit of uh, a leaning over. But what I'm finding that if I straighten up, I can move my arm, my shoulder, um, only if I'm um, a straight spine, and the discomfort is greatly reduced as long as my spine is straight. So there's a story or a connection in there somewhere. I haven't quite figured. I haven't not ready to. I'm not at the. What do I say? There's a message in there somewhere. Is all I'm saying. Siri Gian introduced me many years ago to a healer. Her name is Judy Legrand, um, who Siri Gian described as a clear channel. She just takes whatever comes from anyone and processes it through herself. And I've been wanting to get in touch with her lately, and I finally did this week. Um, and she lightened a lot of the load that I was carrying with the project I'm working on here, saving 100-year-old homes and really saving the vibration of what was in those homes into the land. And Judy LeGrand got me through my testimony on Monday night. So it's just really interesting. It's scary to a little scary. It's I I'm happy to laugh at myself at the moment, but that whatever you're thinking will come out. And I put somebody down in a meeting that I still have to apologize for, because it came out of fear of how that person would mess up the program I was working on. Often I can, well, what I've been teaching people is that you can say something that is, usually it's about oneself. I can't do this, or I wouldn't do this, or I don't know that. And often you don't hear what you said until you've actually said it. And at that point, you can go back and rephrase it to put it in the past. I haven't been able to do that. I haven't yet figured out this or that, as opposed to things that block us. It's a little harder to do if you're if you don't realize the damage you've done until later. But the damage happens quickly these days. So that's those are my thoughts, and I think this the sound of this, what we just heard, is hugely uplifting, and nobody should watch the pictures. So just figure out how to send the words to people, but don't attach the pictures.
I thought about doing that, but I didn't. Just to use CNR.
Yep, that's or just listen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's because the other words, it's whether it's CNR or whether it's awareness or whether it's what's the word,
Consanguinity.
Well, yeah, but we were using a different word.
Coherence.
Coherence, yeah. Those are all different ways of describing what you're calling consciousness no reality. They resonate better with me, but anyway, this was lovely.
Good. I'm so glad. Yay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Japa Saraswati.
Salam. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen to show everybody these pictures, which I've talked about gyroscopic precession before, but this explains for me the way that time is shifting and also the way that karma is becoming more immediate and more apparent. So in this picture, I'm going to enlarge it a little bit more. The center of the circle is the center of the axis. That is source. And we see over here is point A, and at the top is point B. So gyroscopic precession means that a force applied will be felt 90 degrees ahead on the plane of rotation. So if we apply the force at A, the force will be felt at B. All right. And the same thing is true of B and C and D, et cetera, et cetera. A force applied is felt 90 degrees ahead on the plane of rotation. And the closer that we are to source, the closer we are to the center of the axis, the more immediately we feel that force, the more immediately we feel the effect of the karma. So if you're on the inner ring of the track going around a racetrack, you'll get to the finish line faster than somebody who is running on the outer ring of the racetrack. And in karmic terms, what it means is that, like, if we do something that's really big, that has big karma, that means it'll take a long time to fully feel the full effect of the karma. So it's kind of like when we do something big, that's like going far away from source, and that's like it takes a longer time to feel the full effect of the karma. But if we do something insignificant, accidental, like step on an ant, or small venial sins, those things are felt really immediately. And then here is another picture, and this shows a little bit. I don't really like the words that go with this, but the reason that this is important, that this shows, is that we have this central axis, and there's more than one rotation going on. So we're both rotating around the axis, and then we're making these other circles that are our daily life. So there are many forces of gyroscopic precession that we're under, and that's that for the physics lesson right now. So, but the first thing that Baba showed me was about the gyroscopic precession, and that the way that we are all coming closer to source, that karma is being felt for everybody. And this was about the Kachinka being unmasked, that not only is the Kachinka being unmasked, but all of us, everybody is becoming unmasked, from the Epstein files to people, all of the people in positions of power and authority who have been abusing their authority. They were really far away from source when they were doing it. So they were insulated from the effects of their karma for a long time. But now it's time to unmask the players underneath, unmask the humanity, the shadow self underneath. And it's with that unmasking, when we see it, we're having a reaction. And it's not that we're reacting to the politics that are happening in front of us, or the big unmasking, the shocking things. It's actually that we're reacting to ourself, that the other is us, that we're actually, when we're seeing the unmasking, it's what the narrator on the video was saying, was that the mirror can be an uncomfortable place. And that's exactly what's happening, is that as all of these other things are becoming unmasked, it's revealing these shadow places within ourself that feel deeply uncomfortable, and sometimes even revulsion. But the message that I got from Baba is to embrace the shadow self, and embracing that shadow self, that is a kind of tapas, or a kind of austerities. And as you all know, tapas is, it creates heat. It's the austerities creates heat, and the heat burns off karma. So one thing that he reminded me of was, I don't know if you guys know EFT or the tapping where you tap around, say for example, on over your eyebrow and then on the side of your eye and then under your eye and then under your nose and under your lip, et cetera, et cetera. And you do affirmations, but like, for example, one time I was carrying watermelons across a big pit of gravel and I twisted my ankle so hard. I mean, like, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, like it was messed up. Okay. And I immediately hopped inside, put it up, and I put some ice on it, and I started doing immediately EFT. And the first thing that you do, like in a situation like that, is immediately acknowledge the pain. So what you do for EFT for that is you tap on these tapping points and you would say, even though I am in searing, excruciating pain, I fully and completely love, honor, and accept myself. Even though my foot is throbbing and I can't believe how foolish I was, doing this, and I feel stupid. I fully and completely love, honor, and accept myself. And it's this whole process of like, you really get to, like Sat City was saying, being in that place of tearfulness, of really feeling all of the feelings associated with that. And I have to say that ankle, it healed so quickly, I believe, because of the tapping. But what Baba showed me is that being in presence, a lot of people, that's the difference between addiction, is that when somebody who has an addiction issue, they would maybe be in that pain and they would say, I'm immediately looking for alcohol. I'm immediately looking for a drug fix. I'm immediately looking, I'm going to shop and ignore my problem. I'm going to binge eat. I'm going to, whatever it is, I'm going to go on that direction instead of being in that, oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain, like being in that awareness of that really yucky pain, as opposed to being in non-awareness at the bottom of the bottle, for example.
Right.
That's tapas. And what Baba showed me is that this is shadow work and that it's mucky and murky in the shadow. But he also reminded me that culture thrives in warm, dark places. So yes, I know. So the tapas make it warm and the dark is the shadow. It's us delving in the shadow work, and that culture is the culture that makes art, that makes sourdough bread, that makes all kinds of wonderful, juicy things. It makes language. So anyway, what else Baba told me was to avoid reactivity. And part of what he specifically said to me for avoiding reactivity is to alkalize, to and so like I have in the mornings I'm off the cough. I'm not doing coffee right now, and I'm having lemon juice with lemon juice in water with maple syrup, like the Master Cleanse, but without the cayenne pepper. But I'm finding that it's really alkalizing me first thing in the morning, and then throughout the day, I'm not going for other things. And likewise, myself, I'm doing a fast from white sugar for a little while. So I'm having some sugar from the maple syrup, but I'm really not overdoing it. And yesterday I had an extremely, extremely, extremely long day, and it was very successful. And as I was driving home after yoga and after all of my chores and errands and my long day at work, et cetera, and I still hadn't had dinner, I said to myself, oh my gosh, how grateful I am that I'd been starting the day with the lemon juice and that I hadn't had the sugar, because if I had been doing that, I would have been headed for a sugar crash or for some kind of a crash. I'm sure I would have been sitting there in the car munching on chips and mad about something, you know what I mean? And instead, I was just skating home to eat my little salad and go straight to bed, which is what I did, and had a good night's sleep. But So what Bubba showed me though, with the message that I got from it, was to alkalize, because when we're in an acidic situation within ourself, that causes a reaction, that acid naturally causes a reaction, and that was part of my message about avoiding reactivity, and that by doing this will affect our whole electromagnetic field, and it will affect the frequency that we project and emit, and also the frequency that we receive. So we'll be primed to receive the good frequency, the good juju, the good energy, and also be primed to receive what I felt about also part of the emitting was that, like, there are naturally icky situations that we don't want to go into, and that by projecting the right frequency, it's not that there's not going to be bad situations, but that it's that our electromagnetic field will keep us aware, that it will tell us where not to go, and how to avoid some of those situations. But that what his main point was to avoid reactivity, was because if we're invested in a lot of reactions, if we're invested in those kind of side quests, we are missing the main point. We don't have our energy. Our energy is not sovereign to do the things that we actually want to spend the energy on doing. So for me, that was continuing to avoid reactivity. And he meant that in all of the ways, but my first feeling was to do it inside of my tummy, inside of myself, but also, of course, naturally with other people. Don't take the bait, because there's going to be a lot of low-hanging fruit. There's going to be a lot of temptations, and like always, that's kind of the message with the tapas, with sorry, not the tapas, but with the gunas, is that the tamasic things are very tempting, but they're only satisfying in the short term, like the addict who is not sitting there in the light of awareness in their shadow self. They're instead going for how do you say it, hiding your head under the sand, and that is only good while your head is under the sand. But then right afterwards, you're like, oh my gosh, my foot is throbbing, and I have a hangover, and I have all of these other situations that happened while I was stumbling around drunk. You could have been making another big mess, and instead, this is how to avoid reactivity, is to just keep on that centered path, and avoid that temptation, and going for the sattvic choice, I guess. And I think that was my message.
Thank you.
Yay! Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Now
guys.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You were talking about the shadow
Mm-hmm.
and so on. And what would happen if you had the shadow, and then you had CNR during that?
Mhm.
What would happen?
That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful, because I guess I feel that soul would come and take over and embrace the shadow self, because that's really, for me, what my shadow work has been about, is about embracing it, to not be like, shadow self is told you're dirty, you're shameful, you're ugly, all of these things all the time. Like, we hide you for a reason. And to bring soul right into it, and to bring CNR and God awareness and God consciousness into that situation, would just help to love it up, because that's what the shadow self needs, so that it can be fully incorporated, and instead of being revulsion, it's embraced. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Can I add just one little thing to that?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So, Japa Saraswati, so thank you for talking about the shadow self. And I think that's what's happening with the shift into the fifth dimension, is that we are becoming aware. The light is being shown on our shadow self, And that's
Mm-hmm.
why it's so hard, I will say, speaking for myself, to recognize it and to release it, because it's been
Mm-hmm.
so parasitically, entrenched, I guess, in my subconscious. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what the pain, thank you, I mean, you helped me nail that, is recognizing the shadow, uh embracing it, loving it, and then letting it go.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So,
think, oh,
yes, what you're talking about is from Buddhist.
uh,
Hmm.
Oh,
Okay,
and that,
and
continue.
I want to say about the eclipse that this is part of my understanding with the gyroscopic precession and the eclipse is that the solar eclipse, that this is because of so many other celestial bodies. Remember on the picture of the gyros where there's the one central gyro, but then you had those bicycle wheels or those little wheels, and they are spinning around too. So all of our planets and celestial bodies in the whole solar system, they're all moving on their same on a different, they're all moving on their own accord is what I mean to say. They might be circling around other planets, etc. Like moons circling around other planets, for example. And this will affect the weight and their precession. And so then when we have an event like an eclipse or something like this, that we get the effect of that different light, which is part of the unmasking. It's part of like, remember when we had, oh, I don't know if you guys, up here in Maine, we had a tremendous eclipse, solar eclipse last April, I think, or 2 Aprils ago. And it was so amazing the way that the light shone around it, because you guys have probably all seen it under a solar eclipse where the light changes right before the bodies pass over each other. Oh, that's called the penumbra in Latin. Is umbra is shadow and pen is multiple shadows. So you have the effect of these multiple shadows crossing over each other, and it causes the light to be different. But that's part of why we can see in the dark our shadow self. That's part of why our shadow is becoming unveiled. And at the same time, there are so many other planets and bodies that are having these effects that we're under. That's why I wanted to show that picture with the tires, that that we're under the effect of many of these different other things that have their own gyroscopic precession. They are all moving to the beat of their own drum. And some of them are what my understanding from the Hopi message is that some of them are stopping or changing the way that they have moved. Like I had a wonderful therapist who told me many years ago that menopause was like getting yourself adjusted to the rhythms for like this whole section of your life, and then all of a sudden that rhythm just stopped, and all of a sudden there became different new rhythms to be aware of, but that old rhythm was like never the same again, never to come back again, sort of. I don't know exactly. When she said it, it really meant something to me at the time. But that was part of my feeling with the Hopi message, is that the rhythms are all about to change, you know?
wow,
Wonderful.
wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, I just want to say something.
Mm-hmm.
On Saturday, I went with a group of people at Arden Woods, and they had meditation, and uh, with no talking and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So in the middle of that, I could feel that, with meditation vision. And then I began to see found. Oh, does anybody know about the word Kokopelli? You know those?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's cute little images. You have seen those. It's just
Hopi.
with
Yes.
yes, and it's about like a dancer and with a flute and feathers and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that this Kokopelli was from several of those Kokopellis all around all of our people, and was having like fun and
Mm.
dancing and
Mm.
having so much fun. And then I realized also just now we saw the video. It said something about Coco Pelli or
Mhm.
Pello, something like that. So I cannot exactly tell you about that, but that was happening for me. Okay.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So God bless you, all of you. Okay. So let's see, to lead Aagia Pal, can you lead our song?
Sure. Sure. This has been a great session. Thank you, everybody.
Good.
Okay. Breathe. Inhale. Exhale slowly through the heart. Again, inhale. Exhale slowly through the heart. And finally, inhale and exhale with gratitude through the heart. And inhale to begin. May the long
Time sun shine upon you.
all love
Surround
surround you,
you.
and
Your
your love
light within you.
guide
Your way on.
guide
Guide your way on.
guide
Guide your
way
on.
Inhale. God bless you and love you, everybody. Love you, love you, love you.
Love you, love you. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bye,
Okay.
everyone. Thank
Bye.
you. Satnam.
Okay. Satnam.